very good morning and thanks for tuning in to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor with you. Let us start the news bulletin with the headlines. Prime Minister Modi to visit Maldives today to attend inauguration ceremony of President-elect Ibrahim Mohamed Solih to convey India's desire to work closely for realizing development priorities in infrastructure, healthcare and connectivity during talks with the new president. After Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal government withdraws the general consent to CBI to conduct raids and investigation in its state. BJP calls it a coalition of corrupt to indulge in public loot, says people will support PM Modi's agenda for zero tolerance for corruption. First phase of Panchayat polls in Jammu and Kashmir underway. Contest for 536 Sarpanch Halkas and 4,048 Panch wards. National Conference PDP and CPIM staying away from the election exercise. Electronic kilogram, the new baseline measure of mass. In historic vote, over 50 countries unanimously approve overhaul of measurement system for the first time since 1889. Update to take effect from May 20th. And India get off to a flying start at the Women's World Boxing Championship. El Sarita Devi and Manisha Mona win 60 and 54 kilogram bouts respectively. Women's cricket team to play Australia in the World T20 match in West Indies. Both teams are already through to the semi-final. The biggest story this morning, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be in the Maldives capital Mali today to attend the swearing-in ceremony of the country's new president, Ibrahim Mohamed Solih. Prime Minister is the highest-ranking leader attending the ceremony and will be accompanied by a high-level delegation, including National Security Advisor and Foreign Secretary. He will hold bilateral talks with the new president after the swearing-in ceremony and return to New Delhi late evening. This is the first visit of PM Modi to Maldives and the first high-level visit in the last 3 years. And ahead of the visit, the Prime Minister tweeted the recent elections in Maldives represent the collective aspirations of the people for democracy, rule of law and a prosperous future. He further added that India strongly desires to see a stable, democratic, prosperous and peaceful Republic of Maldives. The PM also said that he will convey to the new Maldivian government the desire of the Indian government to work closely for the realization of their developmental priorities, especially in the areas of infrastructure, healthcare, connectivity and human resource development. And an understanding is likely to be reached during the visit to expedite the existing Indian projects and bring new investments in the country. On to the other top story this morning. Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu on Friday withdrew the general consent accorded to the CBI to carry out its duties in the state. The CBI will now have to seek permission from the Andhra government before entering the state for official purposes. Andhra Pradesh Deputy Chief Minister China Rajappa said that the action was taken in the backdrop of allegations against the investigating agency. The opposition has criticized the decision. The YSR Congress accused the Chief Minister of being scared of the CBI.
ఈ రాష్ట్రంలో ఈ మధ్యకాలంలో ఈ నెల 2 నెలల నుంచి తీసుకుంటే సిబిఐని రాజకీయ ప్రయోజనాలకు ఉపయోగించుకోవడం ఒకటి, రెండు ఈ సిబిఐ కూడా ఈ జరిగిన సంఘటనలు చూసుకుంటే మార్పు వచ్చింది.
The state of Andhra Pradesh violates the principle of federal system in the country. So this is a very serious matter of very serious concern. This will have larger consequences in so far as criminal justice system in the country is concerned, and this is bound to be legally challenged by various institutions or persons in the country.
Meanwhile, the BJP has reacted sharply to Chandrababu Naidu's move, calling it a malified exercise of power by corrupt parties to protect their interests.
Andhra Pradesh government's decision to withdraw consent given to the CBI earlier is an attempt to really protect corruption. This is an attempt to somehow try and become a sanctuary for the corrupt and those indulging in acts of criminality. And now there is an alliance of the Maha-corrupt that has emerged in this country. They all want to protect, they all want to indulge in wanton loot and indulge in, they want to protect their corruption. This is a coalition of corrupt interests that is taking shape in this country, and people of the country will certainly punish such corrupt parties and elements and will support Prime Minister Modi ji's agenda of zero tolerance against corruption.
And following suit on Friday evening, the West Bengal government also withdrew its general consent to the CBI to carry raids or carry out investigations in the state. The CBI functions under the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act, under which a state government routinely grants consent to the CBI for exercising its authority in the state. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee backed Chandrababu Naidu's decision, saying that it is absolutely right. She alleged that the BJP is using the CBI and other agencies to pursue its own political interests. And reacting to the West Bengal government's decision, the BJP said that it is not surprised, as it is the work of the coalition of corrupt interests to indulge in public loot.
While Chandrababu Naidu seems to have received inspiration from Rahul Gandhi, Mamata Banerjee is receiving inspiration from Chandrababu Naidu, because they all want to protect the corrupt, they all want to indulge in wanton loot and corruption, and there is a coalition of this corrupt interest that is taking place in this country, and we are therefore not surprised that they are learning from each other how to deceive people and how to evade taxes and how to indulge in public loot and corruption.
Let's get to some other news now. The Supreme Court on Friday asked the Central Vigilance Commission, or the CVC, to further investigate some allegations against CBI Director Alok Kumar Verma. The top court observed that the CVC's preliminary report has made some very uncomplimentary findings in its probe against Verma. According to Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi, the CVC's exhaustive four-part report is very complimentary on some charges, but not so complimentary on some charges and very uncomplimentary on some charges. The Apex Court also said that Verma will get a copy of the CVC's report and gave him time till Monday to file a response, and the matter will be next heard on Tuesday.
वो जो रिपोर्ट सीवीसी को देने के लिए बोला गया था, जो कि पिछले सोमवार को दी गई थी, इस सोमवार को, वो उन्होंने पढ़ ली थी जजों ने, और उन्होंने बोला कि इस रिपोर्ट में कई चीज़ें आलोक वर्मा के हक में लिखी गई हैं, लेकिन कुछ चीज़ें उनके खिलाफ़ भी लिखी गई हैं, और कुछ चीज़ों के बारे में बोला है कि अभी और उनको इंक्वायरी करने की ज़रूरत है।
कोर्ट में आज सुनवाई हुई और जो सील्ड कवर की रिपोर्ट थी वो कोर्ट ने पढ़ी होगी, तो कोर्ट ने ये ऑब्जर्व किया कि रिपोर्ट में डायरेक्टर के कुछ हक में भी है और कुछ खिलाफ भी है, और कई चीज़ें ऐसी हैं जिसमें फर्दर तहकीकात शायद हो। इसलिए डायरेक्टर के वकील को कहा गया है कि वो अपना जवाब पेश करें, तो वो जवाब सोमवार को देंगे और अगली हेयरिंग जो है वो मंगलवार को होगी।
And now it is time for all the news and updates from the 5 election-bound states. First up, news from Rajasthan. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and BJP President Amit Shah will be touring Rajasthan to address poll rallies in the state today. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath and a veteran film actress and MP Hema Malini will also visit the state for poll campaigning, according to a statement issued by the BJP. And other leaders whose names have figured in a list released by the party are Haryana Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar, Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan, Union Ministers Sushma Swaraj, Rajnath Singh, Prakash Javadekar, Nitin Gadkari, Piyush Goyal, Smriti Irani and VK Singh among others. The BJP has released two lists so far of 162 candidates for the polls to be held on 7th of December for 200 assembly constituencies. And earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed an election rally in Chhattisgarh's Ambikapur on Friday ahead of the second phase of polls on 20th of November. Prime Minister Modi praised the tribals of Naxal-hit Bastar region of Chhattisgarh for coming out to cast their votes in large numbers in the first phase, saying that they had defeated the undemocratic elements by voting. And hitting out at the Congress party, Prime Minister Modi said that 4 generations of the party have ruled the nation, but they have nothing to show to the people. He added that the NDA government is giving a report card every day of what it has done in the last 4 years. Remember, 72 constituencies of the state will go to polls in the second phase on 20th of November.
प्रथम चरण के मतदान में लोगों का उमंग, लोगों का उत्साह और विकास के लिए वोट देने का जो संकल्प था, वो मैंने अपनी आंखों से देखा है। उंगलियां काट देने की चुनौती देने वालों को लोगों ने जो जवाब दिया है, वो छत्तीसगढ़ के दूसरे चरण के मतदान के लिए भी बहुत बड़ी प्रेरणा है।
And staying with the Chhattisgarh, BJP chief Mayawati on Friday ruled out the possibility of tying up with the BJP or the Congress to form the government in Chhattisgarh. However, she asserted that her alliance with the Ajit Jogi's party would get absolute majority. Mayawati also criticized BJP and the Congress at a rally in Chhattisgarh. The BSP had earlier announced its decision to contest the state election in alliance with the JCC, declaring Jogi as the chief ministerial face of the coalition. The JCC is contesting 55 seats, while the BSP is in the fray in the rest.
गठबंधन को एब्सोल्यूट मेजॉरिटी, मुझे वैसे पूरा भरोसा है कि हमें एब्सोल्यूट मेजॉरिटी मिल जाएगी। यदि नहीं भी मिली तो हम ना कांग्रेस के साथ जाएंगे, ना बीजेपी के साथ जाएंगे, विपक्ष में बैठना पसंद करेंगे, लेकिन इन पार्टियों को ना हम सरकार बनाने के लिए समर्थन देंगे और ना हम इनसे समर्थन लेंगे।
On to news from poll-bound Madhya Pradesh, with the elections to the 230-member Madhya Pradesh Assembly slated on the 28th of this month. Prime Minister Modi on Friday addressed several public rallies in the state. And addressing people in Shahadol, he said that these elections are not about who will win or won't win. They are about the welfare of the people of Madhya Pradesh. He added that the people need to decide the kind of a state they want to give their children. Challenging the Congress party, he said that the top leadership should be held accountable for every penny of public money they spend. The Prime Minister also addressed a rally in Gwalior.
आपके सामने साफ है, 15 साल बनाम 55 साल, और मैं हैरान हूं। अरे और भी एक कंपैरिजन आप करें, जरूर करें। मोदी का भी हिसाब आपको मांगना चाहिए। मांगना चाहिए कि नहीं मांगना चाहिए? संकोच मत कीजिए, मोदी को भी हिसाब देना चाहिए कि नहीं देना चाहिए? पल पल का हिसाब देना चाहिए कि नहीं देना चाहिए? पाई पाई का हिसाब देना चाहिए कि नहीं देना चाहिए? उसके लिए भी मैं आपसे आग्रह करता हूं। उनकी 4 पीढ़ियों की सरकार है, एक ही परिवार की 4 पीढ़ी ने देश को क्या दिया, एक चाय वाले ने 4 साल में क्या दिया। आ जाओ, हो जाए मुकाबला।
And besides Prime Minister, the BJP President Amit Shah also held public meetings in Tikamgarh, Sagar and Damoh. Addressing a rally in Sagar district, Amit Shah appreciated the developmental work done by Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan. and taking a jibe on the Congress while addressing a rally in Damoh. Shah asks under whose leadership is Congress fighting election in Madhya Pradesh. Madhya Pradesh Assembly elections, remember, are scheduled to be held on 28th of November.
मध्य प्रदेश बीमारू राज्य गिना जाता था, उसका विकास दर जीडीपी -4%। पूरे देश के अंदर कांग्रेस का शासन था, मध्य प्रदेश में कांग्रेस का शासन था। श्रीमान दिग्विजय सिंह मुख्यमंत्री थे, -4% पर विकास दर छोड़कर गए थे। भारतीय जनता पार्टी की शिवराज सरकार ने -4% से बढ़ाकर 10.8% 15 साल तक एवरेज विकास करने का काम ये भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार ने किया।
And Congress President Rahul Gandhi also addressed rallies in Madhya Pradesh on Friday. Addressing a rally in Deori town in Sagar district, Rahul Gandhi accused the Shivraj Singh Chauhan-led Madhya Pradesh government of ruining the healthcare and education systems in the state. He also promised to waive farm loans within 10 days of coming to power in the state, like Congress-led governments did in Punjab and Karnataka. And in another election rally at Sioni, Rahul Gandhi targeted the centre over demonetization and unemployment.
मध्य प्रदेश में सबसे बड़ा सवाल, दो सवाल हैं, बड़े सवाल। एक सवाल रोजगार का। मध्य प्रदेश के युवा, हर जात के युवा, हर धर्म के युवा, हर डिस्ट्रिक्ट के युवा, हर गांव के युवा, हर शहर के युवा एक चीज कहते हैं, मध्य प्रदेश की सरकार ने पिछले 15 साल में हमें रोजगार नहीं दिया है।
And moving to the east now, campaigning has gained momentum in Mizoram with the polling date approaching nearer. Home Minister Rajnath Singh on Friday addressed various election rallies in the state and addressing a public meeting in Siha. Rajnath Singh targeted Chief Minister Lal Thanola-led Congress government, saying the incumbent regime has failed on both counts of development and governance. The Home Minister also promised that all roads in the state would be made pothole-free within 6 months if the BJP comes to power. He also highlighted the developmental plans of the Modi-led central government in the northeast. Singh also addressed rallies in Kamla Nagar and Dampa Rangpuri in Mamoit district. The state, remember, is going to polls on the 28th of this month to elect 40-member state assembly.
पिछले 4.5 years से सेंटर में नरेंद्र मोदी के नेतृत्व में हमारी गवर्नमेंट काम कर रही है। 4.5 वर्षों के अंदर सारी कंट्री में एक चेंज देखने को मिलेगा आपको, और मैं समझता हूं उस चेंज से हमारा नॉर्थ ईस्ट इंडिया भी अनटच्ड नहीं है। यहां पर लास्ट 10 years से कांग्रेस गवर्नमेंट है। मैं आपसे पूछना चाहता हूं, लगातार 10 वर्षों तक यहां सरकार होने के बावजूद भी मिजोरम का डेवलपमेंट क्यों नहीं हुआ? मिजोरम में गांव की सड़कें क्यों नहीं बनी? मिजोरम के स्कूल्स की कंडीशन में इंप्रूवमेंट क्यों नहीं हुआ?
And our correspondent Akhilesh Suman caught up with Mizoram's new Chief Electoral Officer Ashish Kundra, who was appointed on Thursday. Remember, he replaced SB Shashank following protests by the civil society groups seeking his removal. And with the polling in the state just round the corner, here is how the new Chief Electoral Officer plans to ensure free, fair and peaceful elections in the state. Let's take a listen.
Ashish Kundra has joined as a Chief Electoral Officer in Mizoram after a controversial past about Mr. Shashank. So, Mr. Kundra, how do you feel that you have joined after such a controversy that has erupted in the state and the whole situation was very difficult to take it?
I would say that, it was a very unfortunate turn of events in the last couple of weeks, and Mizoram has had a very strong tradition of conducting free, fair and peaceful election. In the morning, I've had detailed discussion with political parties and also with the NGO coordination committee. And I have got full assurance from everybody that they will give us full support in making sure that the state of Mizoram lives up to the standards which have been set in the past.
But you have joined midway, so do you think that the type of situation that had created the attitude of political parties or the officials were positive, or what about this whole assessment?
No, it was very reassuring to interact with everybody, and I can only say that I got very good vibes, very good response from both the political parties as well as the civil society organizations. And I think I told them that we have to restore the faith in the institution of the election office, which in the past also has conducted elections so beautifully and in consonance with law. So we are, after all, officers who are bound by the provisions of law and the instructions issued by Election Commission of India, and we shall do so in the future.
So, finally, that do you think that your whole election machinery is ready to take over this challenge?
I am confident. We have a very strong team of officers, and we have got a very fine set of district magistrates who are in charge, who have been working day and night. And I am sure with their support and preparedness, we will be able to conduct elections well on course.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kundra, and I wish all the best. Thank you.
News from Telangana. The BJP has released its fourth list of candidates for the Telangana polls. With this, the party has announced the list of 93 candidates out of 119 seats in the state assembly. The state votes on 7th of December. On to some other news now. First phase of Panchayat polls are taking place in Jammu and Kashmir, and voting is on for 536 Sarpanch Hallaks and 4,048 Panch wards in this phase. Polling is being held in 6 districts of the Kashmir Valley, 2 in Ladakh and 7 districts in the Jammu region. While the polls are being conducted on the non-party basis, the NC, PDP and the CPIM have announced to stay away from the electoral exercise. Remember, they had also boycotted the municipal polls which were conducted last month. The Women and Child Development Ministry has decided to use a Nirbhaya fund to set up 1,023 fast-track courts to dispose of pending cases of rape of children and women. In July, the Ministry of Law and Justice had proposed the setting up of over 1,000 fast-track special courts across the country as part of a new scheme to try cases related to rape of children and women. The project has a total financial implication of 767.25 crore rupees. In the first phase, 777 fast-track special courts may be set up in 9 states, and in the second phase, 246 will be set up. The second proposal is of the procurement of forensic kits for sexual assault cases so that these kits are used in states and union territories through training of trainers. The Nirbhaya Fund was announced by the centre in 2013 after the sensational 16th of December 2012 gang rape and murder of a physiotherapy student in Delhi to support the initiatives of the government and NGOs working towards safety of women. Let's get you all the international news now. Sri Lanka's ousted Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has called for the restoration of his government, and this after former President Mahinda Rajapaksa was defeated in a motion of no trust for the second time in Parliament on Friday amid chaos. A brawl occurred a day after Speaker Karu Jayasuriya announced that there is no Prime Minister or government following a no-confidence motion against the disputed Prime Minister Rajapaksa. Friday's proceedings were to repeat the floor test which was disrupted on Thursday. At least 7 policemen and 3 legislators were injured as unprecedented violence broke out as part of the political and constitutional standoff. For the third day, the United People's Freedom Alliance members of President Maithripala Sirisena and Rajapaksa disrupted the House proceedings. Jayasuriya summoned 30 policemen to the chamber to provide him security to conduct the proceedings of the House. And the Speaker, Jayasuriya, amid disturbances, then took the vote on no trust motion against Rajapaksa. He declared IS carried the vote and Rajapaksa had lost confidence in the House. Thus, Rajapaksa was defeated twice in the House after Sirisena appointed him controversially on 26th of October.
It's the damage done to the system. 85 years history, we have to be ashamed of this. Never has this happened before. I mean, as an incident, we have seen incidents in Parliament, but not like this. At the Paris, Speaker was nearly assaulted. Members were assaulted. This has to be condemned.
And British Prime Minister Theresa May appointed Stephen Barclay, a junior health minister who voted to leave the European Union in 2016 referendum, as her new Brexit secretary on Friday. May herself will personally oversee the last 10 days of negotiations with the EU on the future framework of relations, while Barclay will focus on domestic readiness for Brexit and getting May's draft withdrawal agreement through Parliament. Barclay replaced Dominic Raab, who quit as a Brexit minister on Thursday over the draft plan for leaving the EU. Theresa May will try to convince her ministers to accept a draft European Union divorce deal in a cabinet meeting today. The Brexiteers in May's Conservative Party have said that they would vote the deal down, while the Northern Irish Party, which props up her minority government, questioned whether she would be able to get parliamentary approval. May's proposed deal, brokered after months of back and forth with Brussels, has sparked political chaos in the UK, triggering a wave of cabinet resignations and also the rumours of a possible leadership challenge. On to the other top story. Scientists have voted to redefine the value of a kilogram in what they called a landmark decision that will boost the accuracy of scientific measurements. On Friday, researchers meeting in Versailles voted to get rid of it in favor of defining a kilogram in terms of an electric current. The decision was made at the General Conference in Weights and Measures. Members of the BIPM, which groups some 60 nations, agreed after a week-long meeting at the nearby Palace of Versailles to redefine a kilogram in terms of a tiny but unchanging value called Planck constant. They also voted to update the definitions of the ampere, the Kelvin and the mole. For more than a century, the kilogram has been defined as the mass of a cylinder of a platinum iridium alloy kept in a high security value in France. The artifact has been the world's sole true kilogram since 1889. The new definitions will come into force on 20th of May 2019. On the sporting action now, veteran Sarita Devi and rookie Manisha Mona gave India a flying start in the Women's World Boxing Championships with dominating victories in their respective bouts on Friday. While Manisha punched above her weight to outclass American Christiana Cruz in a unanimous verdict in 2000 edition gold medalist Sarita Devi had to work harder to emerge winner on points against Diana Sandra Burger of Switzerland. Both Sarita and Manisha advanced to the pre-quarterfinals where they will face Kelly Harrington of Ireland and Dina Ziolamin of Kazakhstan respectively on Sunday. And in cricket, India will take on Australia in their group match at the ongoing ICC Women's World T20. Both India and Australia are unbeaten in the tournament so far. And despite today's match being of little significance, a win for the women in blue will put them in pretty good stead in their knockouts. Ahead of their match against world number 1 Australia, Indian openers Priti Mindana said that India's mindset will remain the same as it was from the beginning, and that is to dominate each and every match. India have never won the World T20 in their previous five attempts, with their best result being a semi-final appearance in 2009 and 2010. Both teams have qualified for the semi-finals. And that's it from me and my team in this edition of Breakfast News. Thanks so much for watching.